consumers, to the Life Happens, Laugh Anyway podcast. I'm comedian Tracy DeGraff.
And I'm Catherine.
My bestie.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, we're back.
Yay.
Episode 15.
Ooh, moving along.
We're in the teenage years.
Yeah, we are.
It's going to get weird. Today, our topic is food addiction.
Yeah. Problem.
It is junk food addiction specifically.
Yeah.
So today, listeners, your takeaways, we're trying to do this, we're learning here, so thank you for bearing with us, but we're trying to give good content. We're really trying to do that. So we're trying to give you the 3 takeaways from today's podcast. Number 1, are you a food addict? We're going to take a quiz.
Guilty.
Number 2, the scandalous science behind the American junk food industry.
Yeah, it is scandalous.
The things that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to reveal all that. And then finally, tips and facts on how to overcome junk food addiction, because it can be overcome, but it takes some intentionality.
Does.
It sure does. So we're going to give you a plan. So if that doesn't float your boat, I don't know what will, because that's pretty good stuff there. Our topic, as we said, is food addiction, and we have sponsors today, Catherine. Who are our sponsors?
Muffin and Pooh.
Yes, our wonderful husbands.
Ron and Kenny.
Yes. And, I wanted to give a shout out to our ministry supporters as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because in 2019, as you know, Catherine, but our listeners probably don't know, we did a major, in Tracy DeGraff Ministries, we did a major rebrand. And I could not fund the rebrand. It was going to cost several $1,000s that I did not have. And so I just asked supporters, would you be willing to donate, a portion of what God has blessed you with to help rebrand this ministry? Because we were going to launch. 2020 was going to be, amazing for us, right? And it was in a different way. So anyway, it's a long story short, but a long story longer, actually, because I'm going to keep going. We had funds left over because we didn't do anything in 2020. We didn't do a major launch. We didn't do a nationwide tour.
You couldn't.
Right. And instead, we launched this podcast at the urging of Mike Smith, my manager.
Mm-hmm.
So because of our financial partners who donated money to the rebrand, we used that money to purchase these wonderful microphones that we struggle with every single time.
I wondered what you were going to say about that.
They are fantastic.
They are.
Catherine and I are learning a lot about technology because we don't have like a tech team. Really, we have kids who roll their eyes when we ask them things. But we needed, a couple $1,000s worth of equipment, and it was because of our financial partners that donated to Tracy DeGraff Ministries that we were able to purchase this little microphone stand things that boom out. Yeah. We had to purchase this table and chairs,
and these accessories here,
right?
That we don't need.
It's a mixer. One's a mixer and one's a headphone something or other.
Right.
There's a lot of wires.
Yeah.
So thank you to all of our sponsors, all of our ministry partners who have donated financially as well as their prayer support, and Muffin and Pooh.
Yeah.
All right, I wanted to get that in.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go on. Let's go to segment 1 in our little outline here. I'm looking at our outline, and we're going to go over this. Are you a food addict? And this is a quiz that I found online. Obviously, didn't just pull it out of my head.
Or go to the library.
Yeah, right.
Who does that?
It was in the encyclopedia.
That's old now.
Yeah, right. I don't even think our kids know what that is. Foodaddicts.org, and I will link this in the show notes so you can have it. You don't have to, be mindful of it and write it all down as I say these. There's 20 questions on this quiz. And if you can answer yes to any of these questions, any of them, you could be a food addict.
Junk food addict?
Well, specifically, they talk about food, but you could definitely insert junk food to some of these. The first one is, have you ever wanted to stop eating and found that you just couldn't stop?
Oh, yeah, never.
Who can't answer yes to that?
Yeah.
Number 2, do you think about food or your weight constantly?
I believe I do.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes in certain settings.
Yeah, maybe.
Like if I'm by myself, I don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't think about the weight part because the food is kind of, But if I'm in a group, especially if I'm in a group where I feel others could potentially be judging me, then I judge myself.
Oh, yeah, you're not alone in that.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. Do you find yourself attempting one diet or food plan after another with no lasting success? I know a lot of people do that. I would say diet or food plan, for myself personally, I've gained and lost weight over the years multiple times. So I've yo-yo, what do they call that? Yo-yo dieting. But I haven't been one to really go too strict on food plans. I try to do more portion control. Maybe, there's some extremes.
Would you say that you've done fad diets?
When I was younger, I remember doing some kind of cabbage soup diet. Yeah, I would say when I was a teenager, I probably did more fad things, like whatever was in 17 magazine or remember that?
Yeah. Grapefruit diet. Remember that one?
I hate grapefruit.
But you tried to love it when
you're on the grapefruit diet.
I tried that one. I think that's probably the only fad one I've ever tried.
Yeah. This makes me think of preventing scurvy, but not really preventing obesity.
Lyme's disease.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Number 4. Do you binge and then get rid of the binge through vomiting, exercise? Oh, my screensaver went off. Exercise, laxatives, or other forms of purging. I answer no to that one, but I know that some people struggle with that.
Yeah.
I didn't really know that laxatives was considered purging, but I get it.
Yeah.
Number 5, do you eat differently in private than you do in front of other people? I would say yes, I do.
I would say yeah. I think I do too.
Yeah, I probably I have more accountability when other people are around, and I think that's I have discovered that about myself when it comes to food. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned because that's going to be a big piece to success is accountability. But that's like a thing that I need, so I have to build it into my lifestyle. All right, has a doctor or family member ever approached you with concern about your eating habits or weight? A doctor or a family member?
Good question. Are you asking me? You look like you're asking me.
Oh, I'm asking myself.
Okay.
Do you remember the time that I was diagnosed by a doctor as being obese? Do you remember that? I went to the doctor. Who I thought I could trust. and I think I was just switching doctors because my doctor moved or something, and this is my first visit. So it was just a initial checkup visit. And at the end of the physical, which I'm fine, I have perfect blood pressure, and all that stuff. And at the end she said, "Is there anything else?" And I said, "Well, I'm working on my weight. I'm working on getting my weight off." And I was really proud of myself because I had been in Weight Watchers or whatever the thing was. And she was writing stuff down on her little chart. Oh. And I didn't think anything of it. She's just doing what you're doing right now, just nodding and smiling and going, And a few weeks later, I get a bill in the mail that says this visit was not covered by my insurance because they don't cover weight loss, and they had the little medical codes on there.
She coded it.
Okay. And then I called my insurance because I was all like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. Right.
And then the insurance lady goes, "Yeah, this diagnosis isn't covered." And I said, "What diagnosis?" Because it's all numbers and gobbledygook. And she goes, "Obesity." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?
Dare you?
I fit in my car." Yeah, it was hilarious and horrifying. And I did get off the phone. I said, well, never mind. We're all good. Bye.
I do believe the doctors should have addressed that, though.
I think so, too.
That they know when they code something, they know what's covered and what's not.
They sure do know.
Yeah.
Man.
Do you still go to that doctor?
No.
Okay.
Goodness sakes, no. She's really thin, had small hands. Just saying.
Okay.
She was tiny. Oh gosh, I'm. That was many years ago. I don't think I'm over it. Anyway, she didn't ask me what my BMI was or anything. She just did math, I guess. And okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7. Do you eat large quantities of food at one time or binge? Well, obviously, people that have overweight issue eat too much food. That's obvious because that's what overweight is. Right?
Yeah. Wrong choices. Too much of wrong choices. Yeah.
It's more than you need, and that's why it's stuck on your hips.
Yeah. But I would say mixed with wrong choices, because if you ate like all protein, I don't think you would gain a lot of weight. I don't think one would gain a lot of weight, but.
Well, anyway, that's number 7. Do you eat large quantities of food at one time or binge? Number 8, is your weight problem due to your nibbling all day long? I would call that unconscious eating, just not aware, like maybe you're bored and just eating. Or you know what gets me is if I have like an open bag of chips on the counter and I walk back and forth past the open bag of chips, it's almost like a toll booth, and I have to take the toll.
Yeah. I would say if it was a bowl or a pot of macaroni and cheese, then that would be definitely something I would walk back and forth and scoop up if it were sitting out like that.
Yeah. Oh,
that was my stomach growling.
I heard that. Catherine and I are both right now working on getting our COVID weight off because we gained weight over COVID. And so we're doing this thing called the shred, and it's 10 days of eating whole foods, healthy foods, fruits and vegetables, lots of water, not eating junk.
It's funny. I just said that I think the only fad diet I've done is the grapefruit one, but and I don't know if this is a fad, the shred thing, because really it's just eating vegetables, fruit, and protein.
Yeah,
which is not really a fad.
I wouldn't call it a fad. I'd call it just healthy eating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we just give it a name, that's all.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go on here. Number 9, do you eat to escape from your feelings? Duh. Number 10, do you eat when you're not hungry? Double duh. That's the whole thing. Number 11, have you ever discarded food only to retrieve it and eat it later? I've not done that. I've not thrown food in the garbage can and then taken it out of the garbage can and eaten it later.
No.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Yeah.
Number 12, do you eat in secret? Yes, sometimes. Number 13, do you fast or severely restrict your food intake? I do not do that for losing weight issues. I fast for spiritual issues, but not for losing weight. Okay, where was I? Oh boy, here's one. Have you ever stolen other people's food?
Oh,
yes. Catherine has.
I have.
My dad's potato chips and French fries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember doing that in the break room at Evelina's too. Well, accident. I don't even know my own story. But Maureen, she used to have these awesome like veggie chips.
Oh yeah.
And so she always said,
help yourself.
Help yourself. I think.
Catherine's the chip thief.
Yeah.
That's funny. Catherine had a dream about me one time that I was old and in a nursing home, and I was wandering around confused, and I was walking into other residents' rooms and eating their chocolate. That could be prophecy right there. Okay, let's see. Let's get through this. Okay. Where was I? Okay, here we are. Number 15. Have you ever hidden food to make sure you have enough? Well, yeah. I have with a big family. for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Number 16. Do you feel driven to exercise excessively to control your weight?
No.
Not even a little bit. I am back at the gym.
Yeah.
And Catherine is too, so
Yeah.
praise the Lord. We're working on it. And the pool, which we love. Okay. Let's see. Do you obsessively calculate the calories you've burned against the calories you've eaten?
No.
That's too much math.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there. All right, 18. Do you frequently feel guilty or ashamed about what you've eaten? I don't. I think I feel more guilty and ashamed like when I go to put on pants that used to fit. I don't think about it in the moment.
I think I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Thankfully, I don't eat to the point where I feel not like nauseated, like
Yeah, I
that
don't do
stuff.
either.
Like
No.
I don't like that feeling more than I like the food. You know what I mean? Like I want to avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a blessing, I guess. Okay, number 19. Are you waiting for your life to begin when you lose the weight?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. I think I could.
I think to a certain extent.
That's what I was just thinking. Like I could answer yes and no to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a son who's engaged to be married, and now I just keep thinking I have like a year and a half to
Right.
lose weight. You know what I mean? Like I have those kind of thoughts.
Yeah. Which
'Cause-
I think is along the same line as what that question is asking.
Right. Okay, and the final question is, do you feel hopeless about your relationship with food?
No.
I would say no. Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'll never give up. Always have
Never
hope.
give up.
Yeah.
Never give up,
Never, Jack. Or Titanic. Okay, so that's the quiz. Are you a food addict? It's from foodaddicts.org. We'll link it in the show notes. And if you can answer yes to any of those questions, you could have a food addiction.
Well, studies show that most Americans have a food addiction. Junk food addiction, actually. Most Americans.
That's probably why our airplane seats need to be widened and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever get on the plane and you're really worried about how many big people and how much their luggage weighs? I know that there's like weight limits for the luggage. I'm one of those people that has a fear of flying, and I sit there thinking about they don't weigh people before they get on the plane.
They actually do. I mean, they don't weigh people before they get on the plane, but they have all kinds of math behind, like if a plane is empty, they'll rearrange people so that the weight is distributed properly. That is part of the responsibility of the airline. They do that.
So okay, how did they do that? I mean, are people seated on the plane already, and then the mechanics of the plane are like, whoa, we're out of balance, and then they ask somebody to move?
They could. I don't know exactly how it's done, but when I worked for Southwest Airlines, I was in customer service. That particular department was not my area, but it is a department. It's a safety measure. So,
Well, thank God.
right. So you look more scared now than when I started talking. And I'm trying to tell you that they have so many smart people behind the scenes that you don't see. So while you're thinking, oh, I wonder if everybody on here, if they're aware that, America just got better, COVID, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
They are aware, and they have calculations and they adjust to make it all right.
Good.
So don't worry.
I'm so glad to hear that. I feel bad for anyone that's asked to move, but
I thought you were going to say that you worry if the seatbelt's going to click together.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't have that problem.
No.
That's whatever. Let's move on.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Catherine, our second segment here, we were going to talk about the scandalous science behind the American junk food industry. What did you learn that is so scandalous?
I was literally addicted to this articles about how they make food addictive, like the engineering behind it. And it was so interesting to me. And, I couldn't stop thinking about side note, Jim Gaffigan and his bit on McDonald's and the French fries. Oh my goodness. So I actually played a little bit of it, just to get, and it's so funny. Anybody can Google Jim Gaffigan and put in McDonald's and it'll come up, and it's so funny. But so there is a lot to say about this industry and the brains behind the people. Well, I should say the people who are optimizing the food. So one thing that I guess I didn't realize, it makes sense after reading it, but where is it that I wanted to say this? Oh, that the food, we get bored with a flavor.
Yeah.
So even if it tastes good, we can get bored with that flavor. And our brains want a new flavor, like a reward. And so they do this research on how to get this. It's called a bliss point. And our brains can be tricked into just basically getting addicted, like having this taste system that we have in our heads. We all like salt, fat, and sugar, but when they're carefully combined to hit this point, that's when we can just become completely addicted. And it was interesting to me to find out that when you have fat alone, it's kind of okay because your brain still has this little sensory thing that enables you to just stop.
Mm-hmm.
When you have sugar alone, I guess research says that you have this sensory thing that says stop. But when they're put together, there is a certain combination that when they're put together, it's bad. You
want more.
Yeah,
you can't stop.
You can't stop.
Yeah. So
they figure out this way to do this. And I was reading this article. I got almost all of this from, it's called secondnature.io. And we'll put the link
in the show notes. Yeah.
But it's on the portion that's can't stop eating junk food. That's when I was looking into it. And the questions that came up that I was interested in finding out the answers. What is it that makes certain foods seemingly irresistible? What keeps us coming back for more even when we know we're full? And what makes us binge on foods we know that's bad for us? And one of the things that they pointed out, it's really not that you have weak willpower. The food industry engineer foods to taste the best they possibly can with the goal of overriding our internal stop signals, which is what I was just talking about. And it actually encourages us to eat more, buy more, eat more, buy more.
Okay, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Back up. Back this train up.
Beep, beep.
So Catherine did all this research and she got into this article.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came over for this recording session, she was starting to tell me about it, and she used the word scandalous, and I was like, that is scandalous. Because, the average person that is just enjoying junk food, out of convenience and, going through the drive-through because, you've got a minivan full of kids that are starving and crying and all you want is your last shred of dignity and sanity, to get home, get them in bed.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking about some laboratory where they're putting together all these tastes and how much salt to put in, how much fat to put in, how much sweetness and sugar to put in. I swear they do. They put sugar in everything.
They do. They absolutely do.
And they have it down to a literal science.
Literally, they do.
And there are places that even, like, we have participated in some taste tests before. They'll pay you for your opinion.
Yeah.
And you taste something and then you write down your opinion about it. And they want to know exactly.
Yeah.
Is it too sweet? Just right? It's like the mama bear, papa bear, baby bear.
Right. And they even will have a numbering scale on, like, let's just say 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that this is, 1 to 5 on the taste level, too sweet, to not too sweet? And it is down to a science with this math and so forth of putting it all together and entering it into the computer and spitting out the results and just optimizing the food to maximum.
Yeah, and these companies, corporations, all the brands that that you saw in that article, they all do it. They all do the research. It's marketing research. Their goal, they have one goal, and it's not our good. It's not our nutrition. It's to make money.
For sure. It's interesting that you mentioned, moms who are just shoving the kids in the van and they've got to go from point A to point B and they've got to, get the dinner or lunch, whatever it is. And I read this article that I think it was like some bigwig in Oscar Mayer. And it was brought to his attention that the bologna industry was starting to go down. I think it was like in the 80s because people were very aware of fat and they associated bologna and all red meats with fats. So anyway, long story short, he actually said, well, instead of kind of finding things that are more nutritious for the people that are not buying the Oscar Mayer products anymore, he went the opposite way. And basically what he did was he just made it more attractive. It was just so interesting to me because what he did was he and a team of, I think it was only 15 people. I keep hitting.
I know, you're talking with your hands like you are Catherine Italian speaking. She's flipping her hands all over the place.
I am sorry. I think it's louder in our headphones than it is.
Yeah, it's fine.
Anyway.
So this guy, rather than talking about the ill effects of eating this, manufactured meat,
instead of, serving the need of nutritious food for these moms that are in a hurry, because instead they came up with Lunchables.
Oh, I did not even think you were going there.
Yeah.
But that is so, I fell for it. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
Did you really?
I used to buy Lunchables. I confess. Father, forgive me. I used to buy Lunchables for the boys for their field trips. Like when they would have a field trip, that's when they would get Lunchables. I know it's not that often, but they were beautiful in their little compartments.
Yeah.
And the colors.
And the story behind it, that was all strategy. I used to think that most of the problem was because of marketing, commercials and things like that. I didn't realize how much science was in that, the combination and the variables in the food. I know that there's research. Between our families, our kids, how many of them worked at these marketing research taste tests?
I don't know.
Well, it was a lot, but between our two kids or two families. But anyway, and they take all of that data and they put it into the computer and it spits out the numbers and the sweet spots, and it's just amazing. But back to these moms that are when Oscar Mayer did this research and they sat down and they questioned moms, and their biggest complaint was that they're in a hurry.
Right.
So this guy was like, not really caring about nutrition, not really. Even though the sales were down, they're like, no, we're going to meet their need. And that's when they came up with the Lunchables. And then it was costing them too much money because of the trays that they came in. And then they did all this merging. They merged with Kraft, with the cheese and all of this. And then they came out with, I think, 60 different Lunchables. And then so the point is too, they were marketing first to the moms, but then they got even smarter and said, no, we're going to market to the kids, because the kids felt empowered by being able to put their own lunch together. So they had the pizza ones, the taco ones, and so on.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I feel like I have been duped. I really do. I feel like I've been used and abused.
Yeah. And I thought another interesting thing was, so this article it was from a New York Times Magazine article. And it went into this thing about, in 1999, the CEO of Pillsbury, he was troubled by the obesity problem in the United States. And so he did something that's kind of unthinkable. He asked the CEOs of, I think it was General Mills and Nestle, Kraft, Nabisco, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, and Mars, and they actually agreed to come. So they have this meeting, And the Pillsbury guy, he was just all for, we've got to have some culpability. We have to
Some morals.
Yeah. And so he's on a roll. He's got all this hope, and
He's like Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
It's me and the goldfish.
Yeah.
Who's with me?
I'm reading this article and I'm rooting for him. I'm like, yeah. And I should have known the outcome because we all know.
Right.
Right? So, but the guy at General, I feel like I'm selling them out, like I'm tattling.
Well,
but the article is out there.
This is
But the General Mills guy, they were so successful at this point in 1999. They had just come out with the Go-Gurt, which, by the way, those yogurts that I don't know if it's just Go-Gurt in particular or just any of their yogurts that are has more sugar in it than Lucky Charms.
No, don't say it.
And Lucky Charms has marshmallows in it.
I failed. No wonder my kids are, unhealthy with their
all
diets.
Of our kids are, I would say.
Okay, keep going.
So the General Mills guy said, no, we're not doing that. Why would we change our recipes? Because, it's so successful.
Well,
and so
not only that, but so if General Mills had just come out with Go-Gurt, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how much money it cost them to get to that point?
Oh my gosh.
How much
the research, you mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not just getting the product right is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to get the packaging right. Then you got to get the amounts right, the size right.
Oh.
And you got to do all the distribution and all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of money.
Yeah. So they hired, I'll get to that in a minute. But, another thing he said, I believe it was him that said, no, we're also not going to worry about that because about, making things a little bit more nutritious. He said consumers are fickle. At one time, they're concerned about fat. Another, phase, they're concerned about sugar. So
what happened to the first guy? I feel like his balloon was just deflated. What did he do then? Did he just walk away and go, well,
with his
forget
tail
it?
Between his legs?
Yeah.
I don't recall because I was so engrossed. I don't know that it says actually.
Okay.
But
well, good on him for at least wanting to try.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Pillsbury guy, he was one of the inventors of microwave popcorn. So he acknowledged his part in this obesity problem and making food addictive. But I have a question for you.
Oh boy.
So, well,
I
and
feel
it's for
vulnerable.
the audience.
Go ahead.
No, you don't have to worry about this. So what do John Lennon, the Beach Boys, ZZ Top, Cher, and Hillary Clinton all have in common?
Hillary Clinton?
Hillary Clinton as well.
And who else? ZZ Top?
Well, you won't.
They both have good beards. No, I don't know. What is it? No.
So they all requested and pretty much demanded that they have Dr. Pepper in their,
in the green room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
on the
Hotel
rider.
Suites.
I have a
rider. On the rider, yes.
I have a rider.
Look at how
I know what that is.
Oh wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, you know what I have on my rider? I'll just
what is it?
Just anything.
Chocolate?
No, I don't say anything. I just say just let me come and be funny. I don't have any requests.
Not yet.
Oh.
Anyway.
So Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
was
Dr. Pepper.
What they had to have.
Yeah, they were at their peak, and then I think they were number 3, behind Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They were number 3, and then they started to see a slip in their sales after 115 years or something like that. They were really successful. So anyway, so they said, we got to come up with something. They came up with this red drink. I forgot what it was called, but the people didn't like it. So they hired this guy, and I had asked you before our podcast if you heard of him, and I knew you would have, or thought you would have.
Yeah.
Howard Moskowitz. Moskowitz, I think is how you say it. He's an American market researcher known for creating addictive flavor combinations. And one thing that was really interesting about him is that he studied mathematics and he studied psychology and food and things like that. But I was like, mathematics, what's that got to do with anything? And gosh, I'm just so naive because mathematics is everything when they're doing these market research on flavoring and when people score what they like best, what they like least, and it goes all into these numbers,
Yeah. And, Catherine and I were talking about dopamine as well.
Right.
And so it makes total sense to me that these big corporations would get, they all they need is to figure out the formula.
That's what it is.
It's cracking the code.
It is. And it's
is that why they call it crack? Crack.
They do make it like crack. Like it's that addictive. And like I said before, I thought it was all in the marketing. I think about way back when I was a kid, we all sang that jingle, that McDonald's Big Mac filet of fish, quarter pounder French fries, icy Coke, thick shake sundaes, and apple pies. And look I'm 51.
You're still
saying it. So I thought it was all in the marketing.
See, mine was a few years before you. 2 whole beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
Wow.
That's the Big Mac one. We're crazy.
Oh my God.
But we're influenced.
Yeah.
And we're no different than anybody else. The American culture and the American diet, they call it don't they call it SAD or something?
I don't know.
Some kind of sad American diet. Standard American diet is a sad diet. Something like that. But, I initially, when we were kind of talking about doing this particular topic, because we do try, listeners, we're trying to serve our audience, and we want to bring information that we think will be helpful. And as I think about fast food, convenience food, packaged food, manufactured food, I'm looking for convenience. I'm looking for something that I can take with, just like you said, the moms were not concerned as much about the nutritional value. What they were concerned with is I'm in a hurry and I got to go.
Yeah. He said that was their major complaint, and he said, let's give the people what they want.
Yeah. Well,
and then it was give the kids what they want, which is even worse.
For sure. So the inmates are running the prison.
Yeah, exactly. But
all right.
I would highly recommend. I found it to be extremely interesting. There was a lot of information, and it's in the New York Times Magazine, and it's titled, The Extraordinary Science of Addictive Junk Food. And it's like behind the scenes of like how Dr. Pepper came back on the scene with their success story, and really how people are just so addicted to the formulas, basically, is what it comes down to. And I'm just scrolling through here to see if there was something I really wanted to point out. Another interesting fact.
Well, we'll definitely link that in our show notes so that people can do more research. Who knows? Maybe this little, episode 15 of the Life Happens Laugh Anyway podcast, maybe it will spark a new interest in getting to the bottom of some of our unhealthy eating habits.
Yeah.
And really, you can't fault us, really. I mean, we're ultimately responsible for what goes in our mouth, but at the same time, we're not responsible for these scientific people who are doing this stuff behind the scenes to try to trick us, really. It's like trickery. I'm not saying that they're responsible. I guess I am. Let me take that back. Hold, please.
Well, I felt like this article was saying that you're off the hook a little bit.
Right.
Because these people, I mean, it's literally down to a science. That's their job, is to make this food not only where you're buying it, but you're addicted to it.
And how do they make it so cheap? Like, how is it that you can buy a $1 burger?
Yeah.
$1 burger.
Right.
And I do believe that they have sugar in those buns, and
they do.
You take one bite and you want the next bite, and then you finish it and you're like, I could eat another one.
Yep. This guy, Moskowitz, he says here, I've optimized soups, I've optimized pizzas, I've optimized salad dressings and pickles. In this field, I'm a game changer. And that's actually what this whole section is titled. I'm a game changer, because he changed it for whatever. Let's just say it was General Mills.
Yeah.
He gets hired by these companies
to
optimize
the job.
Food. So like your Prego sauce, that's in there too. It was already tasting good, but our brains get bored with it. Mm-hmm. And then there's this peak, like we said, this bliss point and he made it like
Did
just
you know,
addicting.
total side note,
Mm-hmm.
I thought of this before and then it left my brain and now it's back again, so I might as well just say it. When Ron and I went to Pennsylvania for something, and we were in Philadelphia, and we went on a tour, like, of the city.
Mm-hmm.
There was an actual lobster riot in a prison in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania,
Oh.
way back in the 1700s or 1800s, or I think it was the 1700s, when the country was new,
Yeah.
country was fresh,
Right.
fresh. Well, they had prisons because they still had criminals, even though it was the beginning. And they would feed the prisoners lobster because it was so available. There they were,
Mm-hmm.
like getting all the lobster out of the
Nice
harbor.
accent.
And
Give me $1.
yeah, and the prisoners had had enough because they couldn't stand one more day of lobster.
Oh, I feel like I heard this. Maybe you told me.
Well, yeah, it's kind of famous.
Oh,
I mean, if you Google it, you'll find it.
okay.
It just to the point of we have, our brains and our taste buds and our system, our how do you say it? Satiety? Our
Oh, yeah.
our satiety point or
SATIETY. I
yes,
think.
yes,
Yep.
satiety.
Say it. Yeah.
There's a built-in little trigger in
There
our
is.
bodies
Yep.
that says, stop, you're full, you have enough.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are in tune with that, then we can maintain a healthy, normal, weight that's going to serve us well.
Mm-hmm.
If we constantly go past that or ignore it, or we're not waiting for the signal, we just like keep eating so the signal never comes, then we screw up what God had intended.
Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned that word because there is a science to break that point as well. And I'm going to find that in a minute. But in the meantime, I just am running across this about Prego.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know? Let's see here. A mere half cup of Prego, traditional for instance, has the equivalent of more than 2 teaspoons of sugar, as much as 2+ Oreo cookies.
Wow.
Prego spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, sugar really is rough. It's
Mhm.
bad. And the more we have, the more we want. When of course, this, Catherine, but I'll share it with our listeners that back in 2015, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I went on like a sugar fast because
Yeah.
sugar was known to kind of feed cancer.
Right.
And so anyway, I just totally did without it. And I had gone without it for so long, like several months, and I lost weight and I felt good. I started to crave the vegetables that I was replacing. Like your body will adapt that way. If we eat a whole bunch of sugar, we're going to want more of that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you stop the sugar and then you start eating a bunch of vegetables, your body will start to crave those vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go back, which was what I did at a birthday party, I decided to have 1 bite of birthday cake.
Mm.
And I took the bite of the birthday cake. It was nauseating to me because I hadn't had the sugar in so long. It was so oversweet, but my taste buds would not have reacted in that same way had I not gone away from it.
Right.
So that's just a
Right.
little personal experience that I had,
Yeah. I know from my own experience too. Like I used to put a lot of sugar in my coffee, for example, and I just cut back. And now I just can't stand it when there's too much of it in there. Or even I used to way back when add the syrupy stuff that they put sometimes in
like flavors and so forth.
Yeah, I used to
with the
like that.
coffee.
I can't stand it now. So I'm just looking for, here it is. Let's see. Okay, there's a thing called sensory specific satiety. I cannot say it. Satiety.
You can't say satiety.
Yeah, let's see now. I want to find it where they it's some kind of science behind busting through that basically. Well, anyway, you can just look in the article because I can't find it right now. But
All right. Well, do you have anything else on the scandal part before we move to the tips and facts?
well, the satiety thing was a big scandal because the science behind it.
Well, are you saying that the corporations wanted to hide the fact that you're satisfied so that you'll you'll go past the satiety
I don't
feeling.
recall there being anything in the article about that they deliberately tried to withhold that, but we all know that it's, well, we don't all know it's there, actually. There wasn't anything saying that they deliberately withheld that information. So, but it's still scandalous because we don't know what, you know.
Right.
Yeah, we can still, I think it's fair to say it's scandalous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to our tips and facts, because we want to share how, now we've kind of very surfacely have attacked the problem of food addiction, junk food specifically. What do we do?
So, some tips that are here. Top tips to reduce junk food cravings. So the first one, break the habit.
Oh, easy. Done.
When I read that, I was like, yeah, duh, that's, the problem. But again, in this article, Second Nature, it's kind of lengthy to read right now, but I guess it can be done. So let me just see. Oh, yeah, you can become aware of what's happening in your mind. So like everything we just talked about, if we're aware of that, it for some reason, I guess it does make it easier to break the habit.
I'll tell you what, this is probably not on your tip list, but when
she's got this look.
We just returned from a visit to Texas to visit my son and his fiance, and they're into this show. I think it's on Netflix because we watched a couple episodes of it while we were waiting to go to a concert, and it's called 1,000-Pound Sisters.
Oh, I think you texted me about that. Yeah,
and it does motivate. I feel like when I watch things like that, I do get motivated to be mindful of this can turn into a real disaster, life-threatening disaster. These two sisters are they were raised, this is not the truth, but they believed it. They were raised to believe that if you eat like cake and cookies and pies and stuff, and then you follow it with a Diet Coke or some sort of diet soft drink, it cancels out the calories and you won't gain weight. What? Right. You're looking at me like I've got three heads, but that was just a myth that they were told by their mother told them that.
Oh my goodness.
So these two girls were obviously raised without the proper education, and one of them was well over 600 pounds and the other gal was 400 and some pounds. Wow. And what they were trying to do is to figure out how they can turn that around. They were going to have the weight loss surgery. We didn't get to the very end of the series because we just watched a couple episodes, but I will say that it is motivating to me to watch something like that and just get, like, even if I look at, well, what are some things that I'm believing? You know what I mean? Like, what are some untruths that I'm believing that need to be switched around in my own world so that I'm not sucked in?
Yeah. I believe that's kind of what they're saying here with breaking the habit. Just asking yourself, am I feeling sad, stressed, or happy?
Yeah.
And what can I do? What will help me let the craving go?
Right.
And so it's along that vein, I guess you could say, that that's how we're able to break the habit. And the second tip is eat junk food mindfully. So I guess you can eat it, but be mindful. It says mindful eating can, and I know that probably most of the audience has heard this before, but it does say mindful eating can help us break habits while still enjoying junk food occasionally. This involves focusing solely on the taste and texture of the food you are eating and any sensation you feel in that present moment. It does say occasionally consuming junk food is a part of life.
Well, that makes sense because if you try to just go cold turkey and you don't have anything, then you could feel so deprived that you binge.
Yeah.
But I like the word mindful. I think that it's like intentional. It's not like unconscious eating.
That's exactly right.
Where you're just like,
Well, right. The key to eat it free from distractions, like what you just said, eating in front of the TV or just, definitely. So, now that I think about it, I do have to say, like, I can do that. I can have just a few chips and be
That's
done
true.
because
Especially if you steal them from my father.
yeah,
Chip thief.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
But
you are pretty good about that. Like you'll just have a couple bites of dessert or whatever, and then
just to
you
get
don't
the flavor
Yeah.
or the texture if it's a chip.
Well, scientifically, after you've had 2 bites, I think I learned this in the Way Down workshop, which was a program that I did a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this gal was a nutritionist, and she said that after you've had just a couple bites, like 2 or 3 bites of something rich or something salty or something, whatever the category of flavor is, your brain shuts off anyway. You don't have the intensity of the flavor.
Right.
So you really only need a couple bites.
Right.
And you're satisfied, your brain's happy, you're happy. The rest of it, when you just keep going, like let's say cheesecake, for example, chocolate cheesecake, very rich. Take 2 bites of it and save the rest for tomorrow. Or take 2 bites a day until it's gone. Make it last a full week, something like that.
And to not contradict what everything that we just said previously. So take that cake. Yeah, you can have like 2 bites of it. It's a little easier. But if you had the cake and then you had something salty, like maybe a Dorito. I used to like to take a Dorito with a Twinkie when I was a kid. But then it's harder.
Yeah.
And it even said that in the beginning of this article that when you put those 2 together, it's so hard. And you think about it, like, why do they put peanuts in? I'm just throwing this out there. It wasn't in the article, but like at a bar, or somewhere where they serve drinks, they always put something salty out.
Right. They want you to be thirsty.
Exactly.
Well, and that's why when they combine sweet and salty flavors, like Chicago popcorn, like what's the name of that? Oh, Garrett's. Garrett's popcorn.
Yeah.
And they waft the smell out into the street.
Oh, dare they?
I know. And then pretty soon your fingers are all orange because you've been digging in.
But who cares?
Yeah. Cheese and caramel.
Yeah. Okay. The third tip, build balanced meals. So building balanced meals can help us feel satisfied and reduce the risk of junk food cravings in between meals. Opt for fresh vegetables. And again, it's not new news to people, I'm sure, but it works.
I think the biggest help to me when I'm really being mindful of healthy, nutritious eating is to prep.
Totally.
You have to do it.
That's just it.
You prep the food, and that way your convenience, like you go to the fridge and you grab the fresh vegetables that you cut the day before. And go, and that's your snack at work or for the day or whatever.
Yeah, and for me, I have to, when I'm hungry, I have to eat something healthy, because if I wait too long, my body or something in me wants the carbs, bread, crackers, cheese, sometimes sweets.
So it's really know thyself and make a plan. And then stick to the plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fourth tip is be aware of bliss point foods. Try to be aware of unexpected foods that we use every day, like tomato sauce, which is also engineered to have a bliss point.
Yeah.
I mean, if your spaghetti sauce has it, you know that your barbecue sauce does. All of those things. You know what's so funny? I'm talking, and I don't know if you can hear it. My stomach is growling like crazy.
You know what's happening to me as you're talking about barbecue sauce? And I'm getting tingly. Like my taste buds are tingling.
Really?
You just gulped.
I know.
Oh, that's funny.
I know.
Yeah, I'm getting all tingly on the sides of my tongue.
Yeah.
All right, let's get through this. Go ahead. Keep going.
I just want to read this. For instance, you can easily make your tomato sauce using chopped tinned tomatoes. I do that a lot, actually. Herbs and garlic. Eating real food will not override hunger signals. Wait a minute. Eating real food will not override hunger signals, nor overstimulate brain reward systems, and still tastes delicious.
I think they're referring to the fact that eating like whole foods and not manufactured
Processed.
sauce is better. It's a little easier on the brain.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to mess up what you got going there naturally.
Yeah.
Because these other manufactured things, they've got these scientists behind that. They're really going for it. Like they're really trying to crack that code.
Yeah. Go for the jugular, which is the stomach.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I just realized I'm holding my stomach as I'm talking.
Hmm.
And lastly, on here is sleep. Sleep is often overlooked when we discuss junk food cravings. However, research has demonstrated that the more sleep deprived we are, the more hungry we feel. On top of this, when we are tired, we are much more likely to crave and eat energy-dense sugar and fat. Rather fat-filled junk foods as opposed to healthy snacks. Getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep compared to 6 to 7 hours can massively reduce the risk of junk food cravings.
Wow.
Yeah. I can remember a time when I really didn't eat fast food when I was, my early 20s. I mean, I already had Patrick and Emily, I think, at that point. And I didn't eat fast food that much. And I remember I was with some people and we did this like getaway, and they wanted to eat fast food 2 days in a row. And I was like, oh, I couldn't stand the thought of it.
Yeah.
Like it was making me sick just thinking about it. But I kind of went, well, I didn't want to be, like a wrench in the wheel or whatever.
Yeah.
So I kind of went, I did say something like, I don't think I could eat it another time, but now I could eat it 2 days in a row.
Easy. 2 meals in a row.
Yeah.
Probably. And especially now, I mean, we're recording this in 2021. We've all been through the year of 2020, the year of the COVID. And I mean, people are, my son, Caleb, he did DoorDash, like he had it delivered here to our house for the first time. It was like a fairy delivered his tacos. Because they literally leave it on your doorstep and then they run away. You pay them through the app. You never see, you could, like they could put in their notes or whatever that they want you to hand them the food. You know what I mean? Like if you buy DoorDash, you could say, I want my food to be handed to me. Because sometimes they deliver to the wrong house.
Yeah, I'm thinking somebody can come take it.
Yeah, but to me, it seems like with COVID and with these conveniences of things like DoorDash, fast food, the drive-through situation
Absolutely.
is, and there are some restaurants now who have said, we're not going to open.
I know, right?
To people in the restaurant. We're going to just do the takeout because we're more profitable that way.
I hope we don't go to that.
Well, we have one restaurant that we've heard that might do that. So, but just to be mindful for all of our listeners and for ourselves, like, let's take control.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Right. Let's not give up.
No, we're not giving up. And how dare, I was thinking too, when you were talking about COVID, how the sit-down restaurants, they were closed up, especially here in Illinois.
Yeah.
I mean, they were closed up, but what was open?
Bars?
Well, no, I don't think so.
Oh, the Home Depot.
Yes, but what I'm getting at is fast food.
Oh, yeah.
They were open,
Well,
not to sit in
right,
there,
the drive-through.
But what's more convenient?
The drive-through.
Drive-through.
Yeah.
And so...
And, when we traveled, like you were with me and my family, we traveled recently to Florida to visit my in-laws, and we went to a restaurant. We thought we were going to get to go in and eat and use the restroom and so forth because we had been on the road traveling. I don't know where they think all these people are going to use the restroom.
Yeah, right.
And it was all boarded up. It was all, partitioned off. And they were just doing it was almost like a food truck. That's what it felt like a food truck. Here's your food, get out.
Yeah, only a food truck would have tasted better, actually.
Probably. All right. Well, is that it for the tips?
That's it for the tips. They're very simple.
Well,
they're not complicated.
No. And of course, the internet is full of this topic. It's everywhere. But we wanted to give you just a little appetizer of it.
Very aptly named.
Right. And of course, every single episode of our podcast, we like to leave our listeners with some spiritual encouragement. And today's verse that we decided to go with is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. And it says this: so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And it's a beautiful way to sum up our conversation today.
It is, actually.
You know, this body that God created, he created also things to put in it, to nurture it.
Treat it right.
Yeah. So let's do it to the glory of God. All right. We have a call to action, and that is accountability.
Yeah.
We were talking about, before we started recording, like, what could our call to action be? And, you know, there's a lot of information. And so what if you have the head knowledge? Who cares?
Yeah.
Unless you make a change and do something about it. So in our experience, Catherine and I have held each other accountable for many things, you know, just as best friends and going, kind of skipping through life together. We help each other.
Yeah.
We truly do. With encouragement. So our call to action to you listeners is to take a step forward in accountability. Find someone who cares about you, someone who you care about, and become accountability partners when it comes to junk food.
It really does help.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's been times where, like, you're not there. And we're both on the same plan, you know? And
Yeah.
I've been like, oh, she'll never know if I have a peanut butter sandwich. But then I think about, I just hear our words to each other. I'm like, come on, let's do this. And the accountability is very helpful.
And the goal is good. Like, the nutrition is good to avoid diabetes or to control it is everything. Our dads both passed away. We just dropped an episode about that. That was it was rough.
Yeah.
So that's, I forget what the number is of the episode, but it's in our queue there, whatever you call it. What do they call it? Feed.
It's in our feed.
Oh,
yeah.
Catherine.
I think Emily.
Yeah, Emily's trying to teach us like all these podcasting terms, and she says it's not called a broadcast. It's called a feed. Like, oh.
By the way, she also suggested we shorten our episode titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This one is called Addiction. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the Life Happens Laugh Anyway podcast. And next time we're going to be talking about unusual jobs.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
I know,
because I want to say some of the
fun ones.
Yeah, I do. They're fun to say.
They are. You want to say it now?
Knocker-uppers.
No knocker-uppers. That's what started this whole thing.
Yeah, it is, actually.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening. And I'm comedian Tracy DeGraff.
And I'm Catherine.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.